series of videos we're going to have a look at reviewing the Triopo Speedlites, the TR961, 586EX and the TR982. This review will be written up and posted on lightingrumours.com, so thank you to Triopo for sending these through, and also to David Selby of Lighting Rumours as well. So let's have a look at these lights. Okay, first thing that we're going to look at is just the layout of the flash, the build quality, buttons and so forth, the ports on it, and what comes with the flashes. Now they're all the same power, feature sets are different, but the casings and the button layouts are all the same. The only real difference is on these two, the 961 and the 586, they have vents, whereas the 982 doesn't. Why that is, I don't know. Maybe they changed during the manufacturing process. Not had them overheat. I've not had any of my other lights overheat yet, so no big deal there. So we'll remove a couple of these out of the way, and we'll have a look at this one here. This is the 586EX. Now, with these lights, you get a manual. Notice I've written on which light it corresponds to. I think the model number's in Chinese, and I can't read Chinese. And the only other way really to distinguish which manuals for which light is when you start reading through the manual and playing with the flash and figuring out what features are there. Because the specs in the back of them are all the same. Maybe that's something they'll change once they go to production, I'm not sure. Now you also get a case, which is fairly standard, okay, and has a place where you can stick the foot in there as well, a loop on the side, and a belt. Well, not really sure it's a belt loop because it's sideways, but there we go. And you also get, where is it, a Stoffen Loomis Dome Sphere whatever thing, diffuser there, so it kind of makes them bare bulb-ish, sort of, almost, but you get those with these lights. So oh, by the way, that thing loses about a stop and a third. There we go. So just looking at the overall layout of the flash first and build quality, comparing the build quality, I would put it on par with, if not maybe just a little bit better than the YN562, and they're built fine. They're built pretty solid, really. The Canon flashes, like the 600 series here, are a little bit better build quality. Obviously the feature set's better, it being a master and so forth, but you kind of expect that given the price. They're not weather sealed, obviously. Neither's that, obviously. That is, but saying that, the 430EX2 isn't. So we'll take those out. Now, looking around the flash, if we have a quick look at the back of it in terms of the buttons that we can see here, you may well recognise a similarity to the 430EX2 from Canon in terms of the button layout. And it's fairly similar, to be fair. These buttons on the 430EX2 can be a bit awkward to press, especially in cold weather, whereas I think the ones on the Triopo are much easier to deal with. So, get that out of the way. Guide number on all of these, like I say, it's the same power, 56 ISO 100 zoom to 180mm. The heads on these will zoom from 18 to 180. However, the guide number I think is a little bit of a lie, because they're about equal to a 430EX2, which is guide number 43. I wouldn't say they're weak, but the YN has a little bit over them in terms of power, and certainly the 600 EXRT does as well. Now I have metered these lights against the 430EX2, the YN and the 600 EXRT at 24mm, 50 and fully zoomed in, okay, to 180 or 200mm in the case of the 600. So I'll put those on the written review. So looking around this light, you have a clear LCD. I'll just turn this thing on. The angle of view on it's not too bad. I can still read it from here, stood above it. It's not too bad. Okay, and it's fairly easy and clean, easy to read, so not bad at all. Okay, the button clicks on them are quite positive. Like I say, it's a better feel than the 430EX2, I think. And it's actually quicker to change the power on this than it is on the likes of the 600 series. pros and cons with them all. Okay, you get a cool blue LED, if that's a selling point, I don't know. And we also have, if I can, there we go, bounce card and the wide angle panel. Now I think that the wide panel takes it to 14mm. I think it's 14mm. I would expect it to be 14mm given the fact it zooms to 18 already. Fairly solid build, like I say, comparable to the YNs, or certainly the later ones. Now the head on these things will articulate and point down. There's the battery door opening. Okay, will point down by about 7 degrees, which is handy. Okay, there's no locking mechanism on it. Like I say, it feels solid enough, but a heavier modifier hanging it on the front of it will probably drag it down, just like it happens with the YN560s. I prefer Canon ones because they have the lock on. If I'm going to hang something heavy, holding a grid, something like the, where are we? Something like the Optica or Honnold grids, absolutely fine. Something heavy, it may give you some problems. Okay, now we can articulate the head, and like I say, they're all the same, these things, all the way around. Sorry for the noise. And up and down for bounce flash. So, all good. Okay, you get a foot with it, metal shoe and a thumb. I actually prefer these locks to the clasps or locking mechanisms on the Canon or Nikon flashes, to be honest with you, so that's good. Battery door, I turned this off because I opened it before. Okay, is similar to the Nikon flashes. Fine, I quite like the straight up layout on that. Feels solid enough, don't think it'll break unless you catch it when it's open maybe, but I think the door break if you did that. Good positive button clicks, you can probably hear the noise. Okay, but at least you know you've pressed it, and I actually prefer that. And one thing I like on these and the Canon flashes compared to, where's it gone? The YN, is that this thing, when you're cycling through the power, it'll just continually go through the range. And if you've forgotten what point you're at power-wise in a softbox and on you go, you'll go past it, and it's a bit annoying. So I prefer that. Okay, we have a sync port, very old sync port, but it's there. Okay, and we also have on the front here the sensor built in there, as well as the, how can I say this, the AF non-assist light. It's badly placed, it needs re-aiming and repositioning, but I will show you a picture of that. In fact, we'll do that now, we'll put that up on screen. This is taken through with my camera phone, so excuse the rather crappy quality, through the viewfinder of a 5D2, and we all know the 5D2's autofocus points are all in the damn middle of the focusing mirror, screen, whichever. We know it lacks in the AF department, so sometimes it does need some help, needs AF assistance, never mind AF assist. And you can see, looking at this picture over here, that it's just off. It doesn't cover all the AF points, and it only just the bottom left hand edge of the AF assist light beam covers the center point. So not great, to be honest with you. It's far less superior than the likes on the Canon flashes like the 430 or the 600 series. It'll work in a pinch, but to be frank, it needs looking at. Okay, on the front as well, last thing just to look at around the body is, if I can take this thing out, it's not attached, so I think that's going to get lost. Like I say, they're not weather sealed, but it does help keep some stuff out, is the power sockets to run external power packs. I don't own any, so I can't test that feature, but it's there should you need to use it, so quite handy. So a solid little unit overall. Like I say, they're all the same layout, it's the feature sets within them that are different. So what we'll do now, we'll have a look at the feature sets of each light and just see where they differ. Okay, time for a quick test of the recycle time on these things. Triopo lights there, they're all the same power, they all recycle around the same time. 430 EX2, YN562, 600 EXRT. This will beep, this will beep, this will beep, that doesn't. Easiest way probably to tell them all equally, because we don't know which beeps for which unless you're used to the sounds, is just watch for the pilot lights. So I'll open the phone, we'll start the timer, and I'll start at around 5 seconds for the first flash. Full power, here we go. One more. So as you can see, or hear, or both, there's not a huge amount in it really. You know, they all recycle quick enough. Like I say, the Triopo's a little bit weak on power, looking at the specs of it, about equal to a 430, but none of them are particularly slow at recycling. Given the fact they're running AA batteries, they're all running on Eneloops, freshly charged. So I'd be quite happy really with the recycle times for any of those. Okay, on to the next bit. Okay, let's go over the feature sets of these. Before I do, and I appreciate this video is long, we're covering 3 lights here. Now, we have the 961 here, so you can't see my hand, can you? The 961 here, 586 here, and the 982 here. This does not do TTL on camera, it does do TTL slave Nikon and Canon. This one does TTL on camera Canon, so does this one. These both do TTL Nikon, Canon as slaves being controlled by a commander or a master. Okay, they all do stroboscopic, alright, but there are a few little differences. Now, before we go into the spec sheets for each one, a few things. The triggers that I use are the Photic Strato 2 with a TTL pass-through. The reason why they say for Canon is because of the TTL pass-through there. They will work on any other cameras. I've used them on Nikon, Sony's, Fuji's, whatever, and they work fine. It's just the pass-through on this won't work. Now, whenever I fit a flash onto this when it's on a camera, I can use on-axis fill flash, TTL or manual, depending on the light that we're using. Now, the 961 works fine, manual. 586 locks up and completely freezes. Doesn't like the pass-through TTL port on the transmitter at all. Same for this one. Even if you're in manual mode, they lock up. Use these on camera, fine. This one's a little bit iffy on the 60D body. I have to kind of loosen the thumb screw off and back it off a little bit to kind of get it to work. When they do lock up, when I put them on the pass-through TTL of the Photics, I have to remove the batteries of the flashes to free them back up. Okay, they also work fine on a TTL cord from Jessop's as well, no problem at all. All of them work okay, as expected, on the 5D Mark II. So it's something to do with the Photics TTL pass-through. What it is, I have no idea. Is it an issue for me? Well, no, because I've got Canon flashes to use anyway. So we'll run through the specs. Now the autofocus beam I've mentioned is rubbish, and that's just the be all and end all of it. It sucks. The LED needs repointing and readjusting to cover the AF points, certainly on my 60D and 5D too. I imagine it's the same on any camera body as well. So we'll have a quick look at the specs on these things now. Okay, so first up, the 961. Now out of the 3 flashes, build quality is all the same, power's all the same. I would say this one is probably the most basic in terms of its feature set. Yes, it has the Canon and Nikon ITTL slave, but it doesn't do on-camera TTL. So this is the more basic model. So if you just use your light manually, off camera with wireless triggers, then it's probably the one to go for. Still does stroboscopic as well. So just to run through, manual flash, manual power range, 128 to 1/1 in third stop increments. This is the same for all of them, by the way. Guide number 56, questionable, at ISO 100, 180mm. Go and see the review on lightingrumours.com and read through the tables for the meter readings. Flash duration, and this is again the same for all of them, is at full power 1/200th of a second, which is kind of an average. You know, usually you'll find them 200 to 300th-ish. 128th is 1/20,000th of a second. As you know, you reduce power on Speedlites, they get faster in terms of duration or shorter duration. The head angles, and this is the same on all of them, 45, 60, 75 and down 7 degrees. Multi-flash stroboscopic, same for all of them. Okay, wireless slave function, compatibility with Canon and Nikon. What it says here is realize TTL from machine, manual and frequency flash, so for stroboscopic from a master. It says that for all of them. It's probably a bit of a lost in translation there. Realizes TTL from machine. Anyway, S1 and S2 optical slaves on all as well. Okay, voice prompt. Now I was kind of hoping these things would talk to me, but they don't, so it's just a beep, okay, which we heard before in the recycle speed test. Custom functions. You can turn the auto power off, so you can tell it not to go to sleep, and the buzzer on or off. And the way to get into the custom functions is press and hold the custom functions. You get a green backlit screen. You can change the custom function you're on there, or cycle through them there. The other ones do have a few more custom functions as well. Okay. Power save mode, overheating protection. It's not kicked in yet anyway. Okay. Automatic save function. So it saves its last used settings, mode, power. Okay. As well. Now, large LCD display. It's large and clear. Okay, that's fine. I mentioned that before. Manual zoom. Okay, so you can zoom the head on this thing. So if we go here until it flashes, you can manually zoom it, but it will not automatically zoom on camera according to the focal length that you're using. Okay, whereas these two will do that. Okay, quick recycle response, 2.9 seconds to full power. That sounds about right. Okay, supports high speed shooting 1/16th power or lower, 12 frames per second, which isn't too bad really. You would need good batteries such as Eneloops or other in there to do that. Built-in wide-angle diffuser, built-in bounce card, Stoffen dome thingy. Same size as a 600 EXRT, as we saw before. External power jack, metal shoe, thumb screw lock, PC sync jack, and a AF assist beam. Slave unit channels 4 and groups A, B and C. Number of flashes of all of these with good batteries, of course depending on the batteries, is full power around 100 to 1,500 at the lowest power. I'm not going to sit here and prove that, screw that for an idea. So, what we'll do now, we'll move on to the 586. Okay, so the Triopo 586 EXC. Just to reiterate, none of these are master capable. They're slaves only for the ETTL and ITTL for those two. Okay, now, in addition to what the spec sheet said for this one, and again you can see all these on the review if you wish to skip watching this part, by all means. This does TTL flash on camera, a little iffy on the 60D in terms of getting it to connect with the pins, but we'll give the benefit of the doubt on that one. It can happen sometimes. Manual power, same thing again. All the rest of it is the same. Now the flash control or flash settings can be controlled on camera by the newer generation Canon bodies only. It's fine, I've found on the 5D and 60D, although the limited control options, switching it from manual to ETTL, not as fully featured as if you put say a 600 or a 580 EX on your camera, but there is some control there. Whether they would work well with older bodies such as say the 30D, 20D, I'm guessing not from what the spec sheet says. Okay, multi-flash stroboscopic, you know, so that's the same again. Rear curtain sync. Okay, so this will do rear curtain sync or second curtain sync. Okay, voice prompts again, custom functions, overheat protection. Now, this one has the auto zoom of the flash head depending on what lens or focal length you're running. Okay, so that's an addition over this one. So if you did use more of those features and more of the on-camera features, then you may want to consider this one, but it does appear to be biased obviously towards the Canon system in respect of the ETTL, and because it works with TTL on camera flash with the Canon system. Slave with Canon and ITTL for Nikon as well. So other than that, they're generally pretty much the same really. So you go from a more basic one here to a little bit more fully featured one here, okay, with second curtain sync. Now, where these two differ, because you're thinking, well, these two kind of do the same thing. Yeah, true, okay. But what we'll do now, we'll have a look at the 982. And what we'll do, we'll have a look at the 982. In fact, we'll stay on this one for the moment. Okay, and we'll just have a look around the menu system on it. We have, if we turn the screen on, we're in manual mode at the moment. You can hear the button clicks. Okay, you can go to multi, and you can change the corresponding hertz and number of flashes. Okay, you can go to ETTL, and you can dial in exposure compensation on the flash accordingly there. Bit of a reflection, it's a bit hard to see. Okay, but it does work there. And we can of course go back to manual mode. Now the way to get to the other modes is by pressing this button here, and that's ETTL slave Canon, channel 1 group A, and ITTL Nikon 1 group A. Okay, we can see the custom functions enabled for the audio beep up there. The light doesn't stay on until you hit that. I mean, it's actually not until you hit that button. It doesn't come back on when you're using the flash. No biggie. And of course, we press the zoom button there to zoom the head of the flash. Now, if we go back into the modes here, we can go manual slave, optical slave S1, S2 if you're running it outside of the TTL system manual. Okay, or back to the manual mode and multi and ETTL there. Changing power, third stops is the top buttons, and the full stops here are those buttons there. Press and hold to turn off, and that's the pilot lights. So fairly simple operation really with these, and they're all very, very similar. Granted, one or two of them have different modes in each other. So what we'll do now, we'll have a quick run through what's on the 982 and why you might want to consider that one depending on how and what you shoot. Okay, now we'll take a look at this light, the 982. Now, again, they all do manual flash, as does this one. Now the big differences is, I won't go through all the specs again, because they're primarily the same in terms of the power and things as such. This does slave TTL for Canon and Nikon, okay, and it also does flash exposure bracketing TTL for Canon as well. Now, whether it does Nikon TTL, because this specifically said it was Canon in the instructions that were emailed over, or these specs, and this says that it was TTL flash. Now, I can't prove whether it does or does not work with Nikon on camera for TTL, because I don't shoot Nikon, I don't have access to a Nikon camera. Now the big difference from a Canon shooter's perspective between these two, okay, is yes, they both work on camera for TTL. This one does rear curtain sync or second curtain sync, okay, and this one does high speed sync as well. Now, one thing that I missed, I believe, on the 961, just to go back to that, is this does do rear curtain sync Nikon only. That's bizarre. Anyway, but this one does Nikon rear curtain sync, and this one does high speed sync. Okay, and I believe as well the second curtain sync. So in terms of a Canon shooter, this is the more fully featured light of the three, the 982. So we'll just have a run through on the modes. Again, we've got manual mode, multi, stroboscopic, seen that before, ETTL, and then we can go into these other modes here for the slave for Canon, slave for Nikon, okay, the S1 modes, S2 modes, and such there. Now, if we go back to ETTL, we can do high speed sync and second curtain sync as well. So it is the most fully featured flash. I mean, I've obviously, in full transparency, been given these things. It's like I said, I always say that any manufacturers that send anything over for review, it's not going to affect how I review them or what I say. If they send something that's a piece of crap, I'll say so. Well, they've got potential. I mean, this is pre-production. Their website doesn't list them yet, so these are not the full final products. So they're a good light. Not quite as powerful as the guide number says. Okay, which is fine, about equal to a 430EX2, which isn't bad. It's a nice, powerful little light. Fully featured. Obviously, this has more features over, say, a basic flash, such as the 961 or even the YN562. I mean, I know these guys have their own versions of TTL flashes as well. Never used them, so I've got no idea what they're like. Well, build quality is fine on all of them. The ETTL functions work, the manual works, third stop increments. The metering tests are consistent enough for working with AA batteries. Issue again, just a reminder, on the 60D with this one, and they do not like, well, these two in particular, in respect of the TTL functionality or being used on camera through a trigger that has a pass-through. Certainly the Photics, in my case, they didn't like it at all. They just completely brain farted and gave up, but no big deal. Would I buy them myself at this stage? I would do if the price is comparable to the likes of the YN flashes, because they give you an extra slave capable flash through control by a master or an in-camera wireless commander. Another good thing about them would be is if you wanted to add a couple of ETTL capable slaves to your collection, you could do so quite cheaply without having to buy the branded flashes. Also, say for example, if you worked as a photographer in a day job, maybe for some company that you work for shooting Nikon, but outside of that you shoot Canon yourself, and you wanted to build some extra lights to use in both kits. Well, buying Canon and then buying Nikon lights, or buying Canon and Nikon versions of some other third-party manufacturer is going to get pretty pricey buying multiple sets, whereas you can buy something like this that will do both and build on your lighting collection, maybe on top of some SBs or Canon 580s or whatever that you've got already. So it's certainly an option. I'm happy enough with them. The AF assist beam needs work. I'll let Triopo know about that because it's terrible. That really needs work. Otherwise, things are fine. Is the fact that they brain fart and give up when I put them on the Photics a worry? No, but I mean it's just another step in the fault finding process or the potential problems. I don't know whether it's something to do with what the Photics firmware they have on them or the flashes, God knows. Thing is though, my Canon flashes work fine on the Photics transmitters without any problems, whereas it is here. All of them work fine, including the 600 as a master, but no big deal. For me, I'm probably going to keep hold of this though. This one here that does high speed sync, the 982, even though it does brain fart when I put it on the Photics as a pass through. And these other two are going to be going to some friends of mine if they want them for some extra lights. Most of the time we all shoot manual anyway, but it will give me an extra ETTL light. And with giving these things to friends as well, I can grab them when I want to do some stroboscopic work, because it will give me 7 lights that will run in stroboscopic mode. That should be fun. So, I'm sorry the video's been a little bit long, but we're covering all the features on 3 lights, plus I wanted to mention some of the issues that I've found with them. They are pre-production, hopefully things will improve. Price-wise, they're saying between $60 and $80, between $80 and $100 and $100 and $120-ish. So, at the moment, the price really hasn't been settled. So we'll just have to wait and see whether they're compatible, or comparable, sorry, to the likes of the YNs and how it stacks up to buying some of the branded, say, Nikon and Canon lights. So thank you very much for watching. Head over to Lighting Rumours and have a read of the review there, because it lists all the specs in detail, as well as the metering tests and my thoughts and findings on these. But it's interesting times really with all this stuff. I mean, people have got less and less money to spend these days. Kit needs to be added to sometimes because of the work you do, and it's nice to have these cheaper options, you know, to buy flashes which are comparable in feature set to the more expensive ones, especially if you're only going to use the additional lights on the odd occasion. You know, it makes more sense to buy something like this, providing that they work, of course, than spending the hundreds of dollars or pounds or whatever on the big names. But where you invest and how you invest is, of course, down to you. So thanks for watching everybody, and I'll catch you in the next video or review on my channel.